welcome to Digital Skills in Spotlight with Founders for Schools in celebration of Scottish Apprenticeship Week. Today's session is sponsored by Skills Development Scotland. My name is Alison and I will be hosting the session today. We're very much all about trying to give young people the opportunity to know a little bit more about the different career opportunities out there to help them understand what sort of choices they can make for their future. And in this session in particular, we're going to be exploring one of the career areas you can go into in digital and technology. For everybody watching, your audio and video your audio and video functions have been switched off, but your chat function is working perfectly fine, or it should be. So we would love to hear any questions you have for our speakers today. We are recording the session, so you can just sit back and enjoy it. If there's any questions that you don't quite catch, then you can watch it again on our YouTube channel when we get available to you. So, as I mentioned, today we're looking at roles in social and creative digital. But first, before we start speaking to our speakers about what they do, I would like to show you a little video from our sponsors at Skills Development Scotland. So if you just give me one little second so that I can share this. There we go.
Hello everyone, my name's Claire and I work in Digital Economy Skills at Skills Development Scotland. Skills Development Scotland is Scotland's national skills and careers agency, so you might know our website called My World of Work, or spoken with one of our careers advisors who are based in your school. And one of our jobs is to make sure you have the right information and advice to make decisions about what job and education pathway you should take after school. So I'm really delighted today to introduce you to the Digital Skills in the Spotlight events, and I hope you enjoy hearing about the different types of jobs and apprenticeships which you can do in areas like cybersecurity, in data and in creative technology. But just before you get started and begin hearing about all these amazing opportunities, I wanted to provide you with a little bit of background to put about what you're about to hear into context. So did you know how important technology jobs are to the Scottish economy and how many people work in tech jobs in Scotland? Right now, there are around 100,000 people working in tech jobs, and each year we need another 13,000 people to be trained to fill the jobs which become available. That's an awful lot of opportunities that you could be working towards gaining a qualification to enter at a later stage. And lots of these jobs have really good salaries and really excellent career pathways, so you could progress into much more senior and much more different and interesting roles at a later stage. And the reason we need all these tech people, and we don't just need them in Scotland, we need them right across the world, is because we're all using so much tech everyday life. For example, every month the world watches 6 billion hours of YouTube videos. That's massive, and that's just YouTube. There's lots of other platforms out there like Instagram and Facebook, not to mention all the gaming and shopping sites people use every day for life and for work. And another example of how important technology is, 4 billion people in the world have got mobile phones. That's more than half the world's population have a mobile that they use. Think about all the phone calls, all the text messages and all the online activity being done on these phones every day of the week. And that's just the phones. We also have billions of laptops and other devices we all use regularly as well. So with all this tech around us, think about all the people we need to work in these roles. We need people in cybersecurity roles, data scientists and web developers. But it's not just about technology skills. We also need people who can design, who can communicate with customers and who can lead technology teams as well. And it isn't just about the technology industry that you could be working in. Every sector in Scotland requires technology professionals. So you could be working in the financial services industry to make sure that the apps and the online websites we use for banking and buying things online are secure. Or you could get a tech job in the tourism industry, which might involve digital marketing to find new customers or creating an online platform so that customers can book hotels or venues. And there's even opportunities in the farming and agricultural industry. In fact, there's actually some really interesting tech developments which helps farmers monitor the health of their cows and their sheep, or where farmers use drones to monitor and keep an eye on their land. And I'm sure we can all imagine how technology is a really big part of developing solutions to the climate emergency, which I know so many of us are really passionate about. So as you're all listening to the amazing speakers today, try and imagine how you could fit into a digital skills job in Scotland. It could offer you the opportunity to be involved in really innovative technology, but in a context that you're really passionate about, such as working in the environment, working in healthcare, or even the gaming industry. And remember, there's lots of ways into digital jobs, so you don't have to go to university if that's not the right thing for you. So you'll also hear today about opportunities such as doing a technology foundation apprenticeship at school, or doing a modern or graduate apprenticeship in technology when you move into employment at a later stage. So have a really great day. I hope you're truly inspired, because I believe the future really is digital. And if you want to find out more about digital careers, why not check out our website, digitalworld.net.
There we go, and thank you to Claire for sending that through. Okay, so let's talk about some of those roles that are available to you in the digital and tech sectors. We have 3 speakers with us today who are going to talk about roles that they have, and they come from 2 different backgrounds. Anna and Jess, I believe, are doing a joint presentation. They're going to go first, and then we're going to hear from Therese. So Anna and Jess, could you tell us a little bit about what it is you do?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. So we are going to be sharing our apprenticeship journey. So my name is Anna McCormick and I am a graduate apprentice at Microsoft working in marketing and events.
And hi everyone, my name is Jess Kuma and I'm also a graduate apprentice working in marketing events at Microsoft.
So as mentioned, I'm a graduate apprentice. I am now going to share my apprenticeship journey with you. Starting with my current job role and what I do now, the skills required for my role and how I got to where I am now from leaving school to being in my final year at university was working alongside Microsoft. I currently work within the central marketing organisation, facilitating executive briefings for Microsoft sellers and their customers. Executive briefings are roundtable meetings which we design to help our customers improve their business processes and to help our sellers to land their deals with the customers. Example topics which may be discussed in these executive briefings include sustainability, the future of work, and data and analytics. My role is to facilitate these events, meaning I do all the organising in the background in order to make them come to life. Roles include creating agendas based on the customer's needs, identifying speakers, creating customer invites and registration pages, booking catering and event support, designing PowerPoint templates and Teams backgrounds for the day, and just so much more. So whilst my role is more business focused than technical, it is important to understand the necessity of digital skills in all job roles. Having a good level of digital skills is key for me in this role in order to be able to create the email templates for the customer invites, to create the registration links for people to sign up for the events, to manipulate data to identify key customers to target for them, and so much more. So it is important to have good digital literacy skills in terms of being able to use the common productivity tools like Outlook, Excel, Microsoft Teams, PowerPoint, for example, in my case, in order to complete typical everyday tasks. I suspect most of you will already be capable of this, but as mentioned, it is important to note that digital skills does not always mean a technical specific role. They are relevant for every job nowadays. However, outside of this, many other transferable skills are important to take into working life. The most important ones for my role include being highly organised, having good time management, being able to communicate regularly and clearly with your team, and also being able to work on your own initiative as well as part of a team. So I'm now going to move on to share a bit about my journey from leaving school to where I am now. So I stayed in school until the end of S6 and had applied to go to university. However, I was not 100% certain on what I wanted to do with my life and was worried about spending 4 years studying a subject at university which I then may not go into a career in. I came across modern apprenticeships from a friend who was in the year above me and had started one themselves. I did some research and applied for an apprenticeship provider called QA Apprenticeships. After a couple of interviews, I was offered to complete my apprenticeship qualification with them. However, I still had to find an organisation to work for. The apprenticeship provider helped by sharing current job openings for modern apprenticeships, and I applied for an open digital marketing position with Microsoft. After an extensive interview process, I luckily got the job and signed a contract for an 18-month apprenticeship. It was only throughout my modern apprenticeship that I learned about graduate apprenticeships and what they were, because I never knew they existed when I was in school. So it was not a natural progression for me at Microsoft, as there hadn't been any graduate apprentices in Scotland before. However, I worked with a couple of universities and my manager to create a position and make the opportunity come to life. So I now study business management at university and work full-time at Microsoft. The way this works is I work 4 days a week in my full-time role at Microsoft and study 1 day a week on campus at Edinburgh Napier University. So whilst progressing from a modern to a graduate apprenticeship wasn't a natural progression for me and required some work, I know other companies really do push towards progressing onto the next level of apprenticeship after you complete your current one. So for example, foundation apprentices moving into modern apprenticeships or modern apprenticeships moving into graduate apprenticeships. So I am now coming towards the end of my 4-year degree, which I will complete in August, and can honestly say completing both a modern and graduate apprenticeship is the best decision I ever made. Come August, I'll have 6 years work experience working at Microsoft, 2 apprenticeship qualifications in digital marketing and digital applications, and also an honours degree in business management. I'm not 100% sure on what I will be doing next, but I hope to continue my career in digital marketing, either within Microsoft or at another organisation. So I hope hearing my journey has helped you a little bit, and I'm now going to pass over to my colleague Jess for you to hear her end of the story.
Thank you, Anna. So I'm going to share a bit about myself and my role, which should hopefully give you some insight into what a job in events might involve. But of course, it's important to remember that every job is different. So what I do in events might not be the same as what someone else does at a different organisation. So for me, a typical day usually involves spending time on calls, talking to partners, or talking to my team about projects we're working on. My main role is to organise events, whether these are in person or online, an hour-long or happening over several months. I support of the content and the agenda and make sure that the logistical side of things is covered so that everything runs smoothly on the day. In terms of the skills this job requires, it requires good communication skills because we need to be clear to potential attendees about what the event is about and persuade them that attending will be worth their time and involvement. My work also requires me to understand some technical processes. So when someone completes a registration form, they will receive an invitation to the online event, and there has to be someone in the background making this automation process happen because it isn't a manual process and we save lots of time doing it automatically rather than having to send an invitation to everyone individually who has signed up. And then lastly, with event organisation, you have to be really organised and reliable because you need to ensure that everyone knows exactly what they're doing, from event support to catering to the speakers. I'm the person to contact, so I need to keep on top of everything. I wouldn't say that I walked into my job having all the skills I have now, but over time I learned and I watched how things were done, and now I feel much more confident because of the experience I've gained. For example, I used to be quite shy at school, but now I speak at quite large events like this one, where hundreds of people might attend. And it's become a lot easier because I talk to people all the time and I've become quite used to it now. And for me, it's just about your mindset. So if you believe you can do something, then you usually can. I'm just going to go back to where it all started. So after sixth form, I completed a degree in anthropology, which is like the study of human culture. It's a bit like sociology, if any of you are studying that. And I found that I really enjoyed a particular module, so I applied to do it at master's level at the University of Edinburgh. After I completed my master's, I decided that I should gain some work experience. So I applied for an internship and I worked as an intern in finance and marketing for 6 months, which was just enough time for me to realise I'd like to do a career in marketing. I thought an apprenticeship would be a great option because I'd get support from a team, I'd be able to learn in a safe environment, and I'd also get some proper work experience in a professional environment. I also contacted QA and they helped me with the application process. So they went through all the apprenticeship options and I chose a graduate apprentice because I was familiar with the university experience and I knew that this would be the right level for me. I spoke to the QA team before each interview and they gave me some practical advice and some interview tips. And then after a few months, I was invited to an interview at Microsoft and I was really, really pleased because I admired the culture at Microsoft and I really liked the idea of working for a global tech organization as well. So overall, I'm really glad that I chose an apprenticeship because it's given me lots of experience working across different teams, learning a new subject, business management, and it's helped me to understand what I might want to do in the future as well. So hopefully that's given you some idea about what a job in events and marketing could involve. As Anna mentioned, all jobs require digital skills now, and it's not always clear what these might be when you read a job description online, but whether you're working in IT or in marketing, there will always be some kind of digital aspect to the job.
Great, thank you very much, both Jess and Anna. That was a very good contrast about some of the different apprenticeship routes that you can take and how you do take them. And we will find out a little bit more about some of the details of your jobs. But I would like to take it over to Therese now to find out a little bit about what it is you do and your role in digital marketing. And you're on mute just before, so you make sure you take that off before you start talking.
Yes, thank you very much. I had trouble finding the unmute button, so thank you. I'm just going to share my screen because I have a presentation as well. Just one second. Okay. So hi, everybody. My name is Therese Modine. I work at Founders for Schools with product marketing. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, it's working perfectly well.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about what are some of the digital skills that we use in product marketing, but also more broadly in marketing. Firstly, to start off, let me tell you about the digital marketing mix. We usually talk about our owned channels, our paid channels, and our earned channels. Owned is things like your own social media channels. Paid is, as the name says, anything that you pay for. So advertising in any of the social media channels or whatever it may be. And earned is things like the engagement when somebody would share something that you have done in your own channel. So to talk about the digital skills that we use in marketing, well, it's a lot of communication. That's text and visual. And a lot of problem solving using digital tools quite a lot of the time. And analysis, informing marketing strategies with your data, very important. And sometimes we use frameworks and structures to sort of guide our work, such as a value proposition, a SWOT analysis, SMART goals, etc. Now, to talk a little bit more specifically what that means for product marketing, we usually we start with the objectives and then we move through this process. I'm going to take you through this very quickly, how it might look. So when you set up an objective, you talk about what is it we want to achieve with this specific product marketing campaign that we're doing. To put that into a hypothetical scenario here is to grow our user base to 1,000 users by June. And then we'd move on to the KPI step. How would we measure the success? For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical scenario again, we would look at the signups and engagement, for example. Then we'd set the design tactics, which is what are we going to what are the ways to reach that right audience? Is it through social media campaign? Is it through email marketing? So I've used that as an example here, but it can be many different things. Execution, that's actually quite a big part. And when you talk to people who work within advertising, for example, it could be like creating a big concept around this, like a Nike campaign. What are you going to do within that Nike campaign? Well, you're going to have a set of assets. You're going to have copy that is specific to the audience that you're speaking to. And for the purpose of having an example, I've put Instagram and Twitter here. And then finally, or sorry, second to last is the measurement, measuring and analyzing your performance. I mentioned there as a skill that analysis is very important. So what is the status of the signups and engagements that we've achieved? How do the numbers look? And is there anything else that we can see? Because essentially what we've set out here is a hypothesis. We want to make sure if we're fulfilling that hypothesis or if actually we need to change something. And then that takes us very nicely into the optimization phase where we are either confirming or altering the hypothesis. So have we seen more engagement, for example, in Facebook than we had expected? Well, then maybe we will go back and change our design tactics, our execution to include Facebook in our marketing campaign. So this is very high level what we do when we look at marketing a product and some of the skills that entails. So that was a very, very brief run through of what my job would look like from a day-to-day. But if I tell you a little bit about myself and how I got into doing this, I'm just going to stop sharing so I can see everybody. How do I do that? Escape. You can still hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. If you just click on the stop sharing button at the bottom of your screen.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. So I think I went through all of that very quickly, and now I'm going to introduce myself, so do it the other way around. The background that I have that has taken me into this role is I actually studied art, and for my undergrad, and out of undergrad, I had the first job I had was an internship in advertising. And then I went on to work in film production, and then I came that way into advertising. After my job in advertising, I did an MBA, which is a Master of Business Administration. So broadening up the scope of what does it mean to run a business and do marketing alongside. That then brought me into a digital marketing role, and now this product marketing role that I work with. So, and what I wanted to say was it's not always clear the way that you will get into a job that uses both analytics and creativity, and understanding some of the business goals that will drive your marketing campaign. Yeah, and that's all about me.
Great, thank you, all three of you. And I think what was very important was you all talked a little bit about the social kind of customer facing element, as well as quite hard technical skills that you might have to do to use to be able to do your job properly. For all three of you, we'll maybe start with Anna and then work to Jess and Therese. What's the thing that you enjoy most about your job?
I think for me, what I enjoy most about my job is the amount of different people I get to work with, and also the amount of different projects I've been able to work on. And that is because I'm an apprentice, so I get to work on lots of stretch projects that full-time employees might not be able to work on. But yeah, I've had so much experience working for different projects. I can expand my skills in different areas outside of my day-to-day job role, and I've worked with so many senior leaders across Microsoft as well.
What about yourself, Jess?
Yeah, so my answer would be similar to Anna. I think it's the variety of work. So at the moment, I'm helping to lead a project, which requires lots of new skills that I'm learning. and also the stretch project. So I helped to hire apprentices into Microsoft, and it was really great to sort of meet them all and get them to know a little bit more about Microsoft. And that was outside my kind of traditional job role. And then it's also the collaboration with customers and partners. So we get to meet different people from different organisations, both small and large, all the time. And it gives you great exposure to how different companies operate.
Okay. And Jess, if you could answer quite quickly, because we do have a question that I would love to get to answer.
Of course, of course. Yeah, no, similar to what the other girls have said, I really enjoy the mix, the variety of tasks that my job entails. But more importantly, I really enjoy the problem solving aspect of it, because you can think that you have everything figured out, but then seeing the reaction of the real world and adapting your product to fit, because at the end of the day, you're doing a product to fit the customer. And yeah, I find that process very exciting.
And clearly one of the ways that you do that is by analysing the data that you get from campaigns. So we do have a question. What do you use to do your data analysis? Any particular software?
Very good question. Was that for me, that question?
Well, it's in the chat for everyone, so I think probably yourself would be a good starting point.
Yeah, I'll take a first crack at it. So what we use is Google Analytics, but we also use very heavily, and it depends on the campaign. If we've run a campaign in Facebook, for instance, the Facebook managing tool is fantastic. I mean, there are a lot of, each channel will have its own tool. And then we use some analytics tools in addition to that, like Buffer. But yeah, there are many tools to be using, so it's good to have a sort of savviness of using a breadth of them.
Okay, and Jess and Anna, are there any data analysis tools you use as part of your job, or is that not so much part of your roles?
So it's not a huge part of our roles. I'll answer on behalf of us both because we worked on the same project, but there was one project we worked on and it was Adobe Analytics and Google Analytics we used for it. And for the data I use at the moment, I'm going to be really bad. It's an acronym, so I actually don't know what it stands for, but it is an internal tool we use to pull data, and we obviously create insights from that.
And do you also have to use, say, more basic packages that might be more widely available, like Excel or anything like that as part of your job?
Yeah, so we use Excel a lot for tracking all types of things. So for the events I organise, actually, it's an Excel tracker that has every event that's upcoming on it, all the details of it, and we also pull data from that for how many we've had, how many have touched on sustainability, how many from public sector or enterprise commercial, things that we can reflect on quarterly.
Great. Okay, well, we're getting very close to the end of the session. So just before, and I do need a very quick answer on this, what would be the one bit of advice you would give to your younger self now that you've had a bit of experience in the world of work? And we'll start with you, Jess, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, so my piece of advice would be to try everything offered to you that you like the sound of. It's only through trying new things that you get to work out what you like and what you don't like. Okay,
what about yourself, Hannah?
For me, it is that you don't need to have it all figured out and know what you want to do when you leave school. So I really stressed about what subjects I was doing and how that was going to help me in the future. But if I'm going to be totally honest, I've done 2 apprenticeships. I'm coming towards the end of my degree. I still don't know exactly what I want to do. I know what I want to do next and I'm in a good position, but you don't need to have it all figured out.
Okay, and Jess, how about yourself?
Yeah, well, I agree with what the ladies have said already. But for me, a really big thing was talking to people who had jobs in the industry that I was interested in, but also just talking to people who had the sort of skills that I felt I had. So a little bit of creativity, and a little bit of an analytical personality. And I found that very, very helpful to talk to others.
Great. Well, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure today, and I hope that has helped give some of the people listening a bit of a better insight into the creative, digital, social tech sphere. I would also like to thank Skills Development Scotland for sponsoring the event. We will be sending an email out to the person that booked with extra resources that you can look at if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about the digital and tech sector and also about apprenticeships. We will be sending out links for our feedback forms. We would love to hear what you think because it helps us when we're planning future events. But most of all, I just want to thank both the students and the teachers for coming along and joining us today. It's been a pleasure. We hope you enjoy the rest of Scottish Apprenticeship Week. I'm sure there'll be lots of events you'll probably be attending for other things. And have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.